takes that initial engage, then the counter-attack from Samsung can be devastating. However, when it comes to SKT's team composition, they do find themselves at a deficit in the early game. When you have Zach against the Jarvan right now, they took it away early, they want to make some waves happen, and it's hard. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. He took the game out of KT last time we saw him, but eventually they got stomped in games 2 and 3. And Untara, by the way, even though SKT has lost 4 games against Samsung this split, Untara never got a chance. It was only Huni. So maybe Untara is the answer for SKT to surpass Samsung.
Well, he's got a good lane to do it, and one of these champions that has been a bit underwhelming, so a bit of pressure to make that happen for himself in that Cannon versus Cho'Gath in the top lane. Also Ruler, a guy who's only played 1 game of Tristana and so much Varus, decides to go for that Tristana this time around. Let's see how game number 1 is going to go, though, as SKT and Samsung enter the Rift. The fans are out in force tonight, as this is a huge playoff game for both of these teams. So much on the line. Samsung, we are going to have a pause, guys, unfortunately, but Samsung, they need to do better than KT in order to get into Worlds off of just points. And SKT, they want to do as good as possible to potentially win off points here if they do not just straight up win LCK Summer.
While both teams have plenty of opportunities to qualify, they can obviously qualify through the gauntlet if they lose here. That's not where it's at. It's about the pride here in Korea. You are either the winner or you're the first loser. So they absolutely are fighting for that pride. They're fighting for making sure that they can be the best team. And it's not just the fans of these two teams that are cheering for them, because if you're a Longzhu fan, if you're a KT fan, you're taking sides here as well. All KT fans are pretty much Samsung fans today because they do not want to see SKT face off against KT, which has found a way to dismantle them twice already, and basically for an entire year after the creation of the team.
Yeah, not looking forward to that. And we got a little bit of extra information about the monitor issue here. Haru just seemingly forgot to set up some of his settings, but that's all done. It's all well and good now as the game has restarted. Shouldn't be any more problems as we go to this one.
Wow, so dazzling from Tarek. Is he taking pictures?
How does he move that stuff in midair? He's a magician.
His charm. Like a snake charmer, but for selfies. Which, on the topic of these two supports, you have Alistar and Tarek. And in the previous match, we saw Lulu versus Nana, so the whole rage is about the Ardent Sensor. How good is Ardent Sensor really? And I think the item gets overhyped by the success it has in solo queue, where coordinated dives, engages, and closing out of games aren't as apparent as they are competitive, where you need the supports to currently not only have kill pressure to prevent your turrets from going down so early, but you also need them as an engage tools later on so you can have more flexibility in your draft. And that's why you now see the Tark and the Alistar making a reappearance and starting to become more and more meta, just because they're higher value when it comes to the competitive matches. And I fully expect maybe one game of an Ardent Sensor support here and there, but for the most part, these two teams will rely on having supports that can make plays.
And Wolf on the Alistar has been making plays every time we see him on this champion. Oh, looks like we have another pause. Maybe someone else wants a new chair or a new monitor.
It's Wolf. Is it going to be Wolf, I bet? Asking for another chair.
My skin isn't good. I got to change it.
No way.
Ruler says he can't hear out of one side of his headset. That's a problem.
Well, every time this happens on a match of this caliber, all we can say is that it's going to be a night that will pack everything, Valdez. We're going to get to see backdoors, Baron steals, Baron attempts, tower dives, 5v2s bottom lane, 1v1 deaths, you name it, because we're already starting off with the pauses. So we're starting to add the untangible aspects to the game that will make this night more memorable.
Yeah, that actually raises a good point in my mind that after SKT and Peanut were they were able to defeat Afrika, right? They had that interview over at OGN, and they were talking to Peanut, and Peanut himself said that he thinks that any other jungler that goes up against him should be a bit nervous because of the ridiculous steals that he's done all year in his career, but also that night against Afrika, taking it away from Spirit, the Baron. And so it's interesting to see that Samsung, Ambition had kind of a wonky, lackluster game against Longju, and then they start a guy that's only played about 6 games the entire season to go up against Peanut. So lots of pressure on this younger jungler, this rookie jungler, to come in and defeat one of the greats.
That also just sounds like Peanut going for some self-propaganda, putting fear into the hearts of the opposing teams. But in the meantime, we get to resume the game, and let's see what Haru can do in the early game, because the Jarvan has plenty of tools to do so. There is kill pressure in topside mid lane, a lot harder to gain. The Lucian's mobility will always allow him to escape, and we'll seldom see Faker go for a relentless pursuit right from the get-go if he doesn't know that he's in the safety of the lane.
Oh man, stepping forward is Ruler. That went right through Ruler. That was weird interaction, but either way.
Doesn't matter if the trade was won, that's all that it falls under. And one of the reasons why Tristana is so obnoxious these days is that you always have to respect her last hitting. At no point can you actually take your eyes off of Tristana, because her explosive shot will just kill the minion, so you always have to be moving around the lane. Any other AD carry, you don't care if they're last hitting. You're mostly looking at their positioning towards yourself. If they're looking for trading auto attacks or sacrificing CS to look for an engage, or utilizing their spells. Whereas Tristana, not only does she have those elements in her kit, but you have to always step away from the creep wave, otherwise she's just going to harass you. It adds another element, another dimension to the laning phase that a lot of teams might not be prepared to deal with. And then we see her become a higher priority because of her late game antics, where we see the 80% crit mauling down individual players that get caught off guard, as well as the safety of her kits.
Her mid to late game is pretty ridiculous. Once she gets that insane amount of crit, she just walks forward with her crazy range at about, level 15, 16, 17, and just begins mowing people down. Can be a little bit hard to deal with. Let's see if SKT has that countered here.
Well, SKT will be perfectly happy to let Tristana get to that point and trust in their own abilities as a hard engaged composition with the double carry. So they'll have no problem just taking it easy, letting Zach farm, waiting for their lanes to start passively building CS advantages. As we already see on the map, you've got Lucian expectedly starting to draw a little bit of an advantage on the mid lane, as well as the Cannon in the top side. And as long as they can get out of the laning phase relatively well, they'll be fine, because when it comes that late game, you know the double AD carries are going to have an easy time mowing down the tanks, because you're going to be able to build the Mortal Reminders, as well as the Lord Dominic's completed armor penetration item to try to take down that choke.
See a bit of trading back and forth here between Ruler and Bang. It just looks like Ruler and CoreJJ, they just want to push the lane as fast as possible and try to deal with this very hard to deal with Caitlyn and Alistair lane. You can see Wolf and Bang kind of holding the lane here before this turret. Don't want to let it get too close.
Well, they're just happy farming. Already they have a 9 CS gold lead. You mentioned that Ruler only had 1 game of Tristana played, and this might just be that he's not practicing up on the champion, as we just see on our screen, missing some CS. The explosive shot can also be your undoing as a Trist player, where it messes up your other last hits, and already he finds himself at a loss of gold compared to Caitlyn, and that's not going to be good for this champion. She absolutely needs to stay ahead of the Caitlyn, because if Kate starts getting an advantage on you, you need to wait for much more gold for you to be able to take on her, or take her on 1v1.
Watch out for this, though. The culling is coming out. Crown getting super low. The last bullet is going to take him down. First blood. A solo kill to Faker on the Lucian.
Look at that. His eyes are wide open. It's like, are you serious? Did you not just burn your heal or flash? And I am just as flabbergasted. What's up, Crown? This guy has been known all split long for saving his summoners until the very end, utilizing them only when it's necessary, but just a brain fart there, because he could have easily lived out of that one. Even when we saw Faker in his matchups against Lucians with heal, he would just use heal to get out of the culling and survive, but I guess Crown just forgot that he had those summoners, because that just should not have happened.
Not the best mistake that you want to have happen when you're going up against a Lucian lane, or against anyone really. This is not a good start for Crown in the mid lane. And it was the last bullet, you know, as you said. He was just trying to avoid using the summoner as much as possible, and it was his undoing. I guess he'll have heal for the next gank at least.
He'll also have a Dark Seal, so I'm not sure why he went with that itemization after dying. You go for that item. It's like giving up First Blood to Elise and going with Mobility Boots. So we'll take another look at that one. So he basically misses everything right away. We're just going to get to see a Matrix angle on his own death. Goodbye, Mr. Smith.
That was pretty sick. I love Faker's just composure, right? He's baiting out the seismic shove. He's just dodging back and forth, just baiting it out, like waiting for a cat to dive at a toy. It's like, okay, use it, and then I'll burst forward, then I'll relentless pursuit, then I'll get on top of you. And Crown fell for it. Next time, I hope he uses his summoners. So that's definitely a good spot for Faker in the mid lane on that Lucian. No doubt picking up that first blood alone, not having to burn any of his own summoners as well.
It's like going into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and losing without using your lifeline. So you're like, why didn't you just use it?
Saving it for the $500,000 question, no doubt. That's when the 4-man gank comes in. Looking for a gank up top. Here is Haru, who has hit level 6, but did get pushed in. He is still hanging up there, and there has been so much vision of Peanuts on this Zac, by the way. They've known where he's been for a long time. Will he go for the gank? He's looking for it. The Flag and Dragon's so close. He's waiting for the knockup first. Into the second one. The Cataclysm comes down, and the Feast will pick up a kill for Cube. 2-1 on top of Untara.
Beautiful chain CC there from Samsung. The second that the Rupture came out, you knew Untara was dead. Impossible to get away from that gang, and that's going to be the entire story for this matchup. He didn't get to burn his flash, but if he ever gets caught by those two, he is in the death wish.
Here we go again. This time it's not going to be as relentless, the pursuit from Faker. He's out of mana as well. Crown still has both of his summoners.
Crown will now need to make the most out of this Taliyah by looking towards the lane. So bot lane, unlikely for them to find anything there against the Alistar, but top side, I think that Untara will be the champion, or rather the player that they'll try to pick on, because a way that teams have found victories against SKT is finding individual members and just making them feed as hard as possible. Here we see a battle for vision, but Haru has not been spotted.
Okay, hopping on in, he's gonna miss the, down comes the Cosmic Radiance, pushing away Haru. His Wolf gets him out of there. Peanut kidnapping himself to safety.
Party balloon there for himself. Just didn't want us to have any part of that one, but you see what happens when no carries are involved. The tanks just look at each other dead in the eye. It's like, well, we have no business being here. So at least both teams seem to be on the same page when it comes to who the damage dealers are and what fights they can engage on.
Faker with this lead is making it harder for Crown to stay in lane, let alone push the lane and try to influence the other lanes on the map. Saying if you want to get near that minion wave, you're going to lose about half your health bar.
And his atomization is sick, because not only does it help him dodge out against Taliyah's spells with the high mobility of the early Zerker Greaves, but you also get to dodge out of Jarvan with a lot more ease, making that lane safer than ever and allowing him to continue that push that keeps Taliyah under tower and has his lanes farming safely. And now that top lane has already died, it's all about Bang when it comes down to the later stages in the game. He didn't have the greatest game 2 against Afrika, but he's on a different champion here on the Caitlyn, with that late game prowess that we haven't seen for such a long time, ever since she entered the perma-ban list.
I'm sure these guys still know how to play it. You can see Bang's doing okay so far with his lead. We are going to have the Infernal Drake being soloed down by Peanut. Loves to go for these solo dragons. And Faker just, once again, very calmly sidestepping all of the CC from that Talia. Bang and Wolf making their way over. And Ruler and Cortez, they're just a little bit too late. Not even going to use the smite here. Caitlyn picks that one up. TP is going to be used. Wolf burning his ultimate, saying, okay, I'll just get out of this one. And that will be a pretty much free Infernal Drake going over to SKT.
Yeah, Infernal Drake will have infinitely more value than in other compositions. When you have double AD carries and then an AP cannon top, that's going to sting. And the use of teleport there from Samsung is the first sign of real worry. I guess Crown's solo death was the first major one, but this one, as a team, what a bizarre call. The Dragon's already been taken. There was no setup to go for that fight whatsoever. You know that Zac can go over the wall, that the Caitlyn can also go over the wall, that they don't have any angle into this fight, so they commit to it, and has to be some sort of disjoint when it comes to the bottom lane and the top side, because now the top laner has advantage in the teleport with Kennen, and that just means that SKT can set up a dive on the bottom side, and we see pings going onto the bottom side of the map. So this dual lane might be in some danger if SKT decide to attack there.
Already thinking about setting it up. They have 2 wards in position there. We'll see if they can set up some kind of dive. Samsung has one nice control ward in the river, but needs to get a little bit more vision around the area. See, Peanut was making his way up towards top, but at the end of the day, Kive just went back home, and Peanut returned as well. See if he can just pick up some buffs and go somewhere else. Haven't seen Faker get hit by one of these seismic shoves yet, as in fact now he's pushing in the Talia in the mid lane.
When it comes into the lane, I don't think we'll ever get to see Lucian getting hit by one of those. Considering how far Crown was missing them, I think that with the itemization that Faker's also going for, it's going to be way too difficult for him. And that's just not their job. Their job is simply to wave clear and make sure that they can keep each other accountable for their position. And that will enable the possibility of a dive into the bottom side of the map. Now, if SKT want to pull that off, their first step needs to be getting rid of vision into the bottom side of the river. So right now, it fully belongs to Samsung with 5 wards littered all over it. We get to see Wolf go for a shallow ward. And even though we did see the teleport advantage happen and the ward of control being cleared right now from Wolf, just because of the motto that SKT signed up for when they drafted this composition, I think that they're not going to pressure for it. It's too difficult to go for it right now. They could look for it if Samsung wasn't so adverse or efficient at getting this vision down to protect themselves, so they have no need for it. They got an Infernal Dragon, and even though the goal is even, their lanes are passively winning in pressure, and they'll be a-okay with having Caitlyn Lucian in the late game.
We're getting another spot of trivia as they bait out some more spells from Crown, but on average, SKT destroyed 2. Okay, disappeared. Never mind. You guys got time to read it. And Faker pushing down mid once again, using that calling very early, just trying to push out Crown, but here comes Haru from the right side. You can see Faker already dodging up towards the north.
It's just no business for Haru in the mid lane. I'm so surprised to see them not attempt another kill onto Untar. He showcased to be the easiest champion to kill already with how effective that gank was, and never again did we see a revisit into the lane. He's been shoved under tower all day long, but an easy dive could have happened into the Kennen. So Samsung just seemingly fine with playing it passively, but this will not be in their benefit because now we get to see a second Infernal spawning, and if SKT continue to have their way with these lanes with a passive early game, they're going to start amassing significant damage advantages when it comes to those stacking dragons.
Yeah, they'll definitely be looking towards that objective, as Ntara has just been allowed to farm up top. You see finally Haru was looking to make his way up here, puts down a control ward, but Ntara was just warding the Rift Herald much as Samsung had a lot of vision around the bottom side of the river, this time SKT has 3 control wards up towards the top, including a green one on top of that Rift Herald. So they know exactly the potential for Samsung to go for that. They have the Feast with the Cho'Gath up top. They do want to make a play there.
But here is where things start to get juicy, Valdez, because we now see Faker getting blue buff at level 12. He's about to hit that level 13. He's going to have 2 levels of his Relentless Pursuit, and that's going to be a nightmare to deal with because now he gets to push as hard as he can without feeling any lack of mana. Every time we've looked at mid lane, he's been out of mana from putting pressure onto Crown, but now he has sustain in both mana and HP now that the Blade of the Rune King is completed. And here comes the all-in.
Yep, here we go again. The call coming out. Crown not burning any of his summoners once again. He does get away. Peanut finding Haru in the jungle, just one-on-one for now. Haru going to flag and drag over towards that blue buff that is started. But in the meantime, we have a fight up top. Thankfully, Untara is able to land a stun, so you can get away from that one. And Haru's just going to take the blue buff because Crown isn't there.
And take a look at the timing that SKT and Faker specifically goes for that all-in. What seemingly looks like just Crown overstepping has way more implications than what we get to see because the blue buff gets to be stolen from Peanut, but Vision gets to be acquired into the blue side for SKT, and that Vision will set them up for this next Dragon. Another all-in for Faker onto Crown means that they'll be able to get this second Infernal stack going. And now they've even called reinforcements from Cuban onto the mid lane, but this is Lucian. It's like he's skating into the mid lane. You just can't gank this guy.
Yeah, you're not going to really come close unless you commit 3 members plus, I'd say at this point. And they don't really have the resources to go for that. So here we go. The Infernal Drake, the second one of the game, is started. Haru is hanging around nearby. It is going to be a 4-on-4 for now. Both of these top laners do have the teleport, but will it come in time? This is being burned down, and Samsung just going to give it away as SKT had all that control with the Vision and all their members around that Drake, and they pick up the second Infernal of the game.
That's exactly what I was saying. They push the lanes in, and because the atomization of Blade of the Rune King is completed, they can burn it down quickly enough. They had a ward ready for a teleport if Samsung were to commit, but they were just too damn fast at it. So SKT having foresight and seeing what they want to do with the game, playing accordingly, and now they have that second Infernal, and wow, Mountain as a third. The Dragon RNG is on their side today, and if they walk away with this other one, when it comes to controlling the Baron, Samsung's just not going to have any hope.
Yeah, SKT, even though the gold doesn't really reflect it, as it is exactly even at this point, and still no First Blood turret has come down, even though Samsung is getting close. SKT picking up all of the very important objectives up until this point. SKT has won 19 games with the gold lead at 15 minutes in this split. I guess they had the gold lead at 15 minutes in this one, although it must have been a minuscule one.
Well, our game is dead even when it comes to gold, and while the Dragons and the pressure have been in the favor of SKT, it doesn't mean that Samsung is by any means out of this situation. They have Tristana in the late game. We've seen what she can do. They've already been pushing the bottom lane quite well as they're about to go for a first brick if they can get their hands onto that lane. Wait a second.
Oh, forcing that flash out of Crown, who does get away. Haru was jumping in, but immediately after he saw Peanut, just made his way out with his tail between his legs. Forcing a big summoner off of Crown at this point in the game.
Guess that's what it takes to get Crown to burn his flash, but in return, Jungle is showing into the mid lane. They can just safely push into the bottom side, and the pressure pays off. 2 towers in the favor of SKT, and now we get to see the snowball just starting to build up. They were just looking for the perfect snow to build that perfect snowball to get Samsung out of the contention for these wards, and it looks like SKT is just playing such a smooth control game over Samsung, and they seemingly have no idea where to pressure on the map.
They gotta wait until the Infernal Drakes come in so that the snow melts just a little bit, so it's not super powdery, it's more of this icy, hard snow that you can whack your friends in the face with. It's definitely working out for them. They got a huge lead from this, as they do take down both of those very important early turrets.
It's like when you open your new batch of ice cream and it tells you wait 10 to 15 minutes before eating it so that it melts a little bit and it's perfect temperature to eat, not just completely frozen. So the Infernals there, the perfect temperature for SKT to start snowballing onto Samsung.
Exactly. Well, after that, they have just sent their bottom lane duo into the mid lane to begin pushing. Already, Caitlyn with that 2-item spike, the Infinity Edge, and the Static Shiv. Tristana still working on the Infinity Edge, which is extremely important at this point in time. So, we'd love to take a look at the gold at this point between the different AD carries and see exactly how far ahead Bang is at this point, because it looks like a lot.
At least in the levels, they're still the same, but now SKT has the advantage and pressure, and they're using it towards the Baron side of the map. With Faker being on the side lanes, he loves to do this on the Cassiopeia. Obviously, it's meta to have your dual lane swap into the mid lane after a while, but an engage onto Crown. He just got crit.
Oh man, this 1v1 all the time, it just brings down Crown essentially alone. Peanut coming in for just the cleanup, and it's been basically the Faker show against Crown the entire time, really setting the tone for this entire series.
Dear Lord, and there's a Knight's Vow already onto him, and then the 2v2. They don't stand a chance in this situation, and as you say, it's the Faker show. It was the Faker show in Game 2 of Afrika SKT. Some would say that Faker got robbed of the MVP. I would side with them because he was doing so much work, and once again, almost single-handedly just exerting as much pressure onto Samsung as a hydraulic press, and they have no answer to him. Who's going to lane against Faker? You need 2 men at this point.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that Samsung, they saw the Lucian be picked up, and then they were like, okay, we can have Crown lane to Leanne to this. He should be fine. And perhaps on paper he should be, but not today. Not with the playoff buff that it seems Faker has received. So we're going to take another look at the 1v1. It's just Crown being burst down, very close to the turret. Peanut just comes in, uses one ability, and takes the kill.
It's a playoff buff, but this has to be some sort of debuff onto Crown because he overstepped before the minion wave even hit. So another mistake akin to the one that gave up first blood against Faker, and he's just not having the greatest game of his life. Remember the series against, I believe it was Jin Air, where Samsung ended up prioritizing the Orianna over pretty much everything because it was so important that Crown got a good matchup, and it feels like this just might be the case. That Crown needs to get on one of these important picks for him to start thriving in. And then we look at the Cassiopeia ban. Could it be that Crown's current pick of comfort is Cassiopeia? SKT scouted out properly, bans it out, and now Crown is left with something that he's just not in a comfort zone. That could very well be the situation that we see ourselves in, and it draws the opinion that maybe Cassiopeia and Lucian might become heavily contested picks for the rest of the series.
Would have to agree with those kind of thoughts, and it's definitely pretty cool to see Faker stepping it up. I also want to point out how he gets his scanner, as he always does, but it's like even more oppressive. Hold that thought, Crown's being poked down. Okay, looks like he's going to be okay, but on the Lucian, who gets the double shot after the relentless pursuit, and just with how fast he is, with all those items that speed him up, he can take out all these wards so easily. And he's gotten a ton of vision up in the top side, taken away. Ruler is recalling all alone. Will he get out in time? It looks like he will. Just barely before Untaro was able to spot him.
Finally, somebody from Samsung taking an objective, saving themselves from the perfect game. So the bottom turret is still available for them to take, with Cho'Gath pushing that in, but this would mean that SKT, once they complete the trifecta of dragons, they don't even care about that tower. It's all about the Baron, and they don't have anything that will seriously be a threat when it comes to stopping them in here. With the Blade of the Rune King from the Fed Lucian, the Caitlyn that already has that 2 items back, the Zax's % damage, this Baron would go down in a jiffy, and Samsung with no way to defend on a 1-3-1 situation, as we have seen how difficult it is to defend against Lucian. A Baron would likely be the beginning of the end for Samsung.
When we took a look at the gold a little bit earlier on, just the difference in gold between the players on both sides, Faker was about 2.6K ahead of Crown, and Bang was about 1,000 ahead of Ruler. And if you take a look at the gold lead right now, that's basically all of the gold lead that SKT has just put onto those 2 players. And so far, it's really shown. And that's really where you do want that gold lead onto 280 carries. We're seeing the return of Lucian with the help of Faker, as he was looking a little bit lackluster towards the mid and end parts of LCK summer regular season.
And the thing about Lucian and Cassiopeia, which are currently Faker's go-to picks, is that nobody else can truly play them to that level. They're highly mechanical champions. Faker, obviously, on Lucian can play him well, utilizing dashes and the many combinations that it has, but Cassiopeia is also surprisingly difficult. Hitting your Q is so important when it comes to dealing damage, and understanding how a fight is going to happen gives you an indication of when to use your miasma, which so many players utilize wrongly and have players eventually flash out. But Faker is not one of those players. He can see plays seconds before it happens. How many times have we heard the story of Faker calling out a play 5 seconds before it happens? Oh, I got a kill. 5 seconds later, somebody dies. And that kind of foresight is necessary when it comes to playing these difficult champions. And I don't think that anybody that will try to imitate Faker's champion pool will find nearly as much success on them.
Well, Crown was looking pretty good on the Cassiopeia. I wouldn't say it was 100% Faker level, but Faker said, I don't need to play my Cassiopeia. As long as Crown doesn't get that comfort peg, we should be good in this series. And so far, it has turned out to be correct. By the way, the fourth dragon of the game is going to be another Mountain Drake. Hold that thought. Faker going 1v1 onto Haru. In comes Peanuts. They're looking to come in from the left side, as well as Utara from bottom. But Samsung effectively able to disengage, and nobody will go down just yet.
But chunking the jungler is going to be a pretext for what we're about to see. If this happens again, and Haru is truly forced to recall, then that would be the cue for SKT to start the Baron. And you can see how worried Haru was in this situation. He went back to throw a flag to make sure that everything was safe, to know that SKT had recall so that he could have his own timing, just because of how quickly SKT can take down the Baron themselves. So Samsung has to be on high guard when it comes to defending this Baron, and unfortunately for them, they don't have a single ward in their own red side, so they need to start getting vision up there pronto, otherwise they will lose that objective.
Yeah, we see Korji Jang attempting to put down some vision, but so far failing, as it is all SKT's land over on this right side. The red buff is about to spawn too. That would be a nice cheeky pickup for Bang if he can get it over the wall. Doesn't look like that will happen though. Just setting down his traps. Almost steals it. It's close enough.
Samsung really needs to step up their vision game, and this has to be Ruler and Crown also helping out with control wards. None of them have any in their inventory or even placed, which is not doing them any good. They need to get control back of this map, otherwise they'll find themselves doing what we see them right now, grouping up together to find a way to get vision. And while it's good and all to clear out the wards, it means that you spread yourself out, or you don't have the opportunity to spread yourself out rather, and get far on your side lanes, which does build the gold lead further for SKT.
I mean, look at Samsung trying to start a fight in the mid side, but SKT in perfect position. They got that 1-3-1 going on. Faker in the top side saying, I dare someone to come up and try to 1v1 me. Looks like Crown is going to be that one, and here we go again. The 1v1 begins, and the culling comes down, and the flash is in, but it's not enough. Faker with another solo kill onto Crown. He's just too much on this champion right now.
And in none of those kills, Faker even has to burn any summoners. He has been stomping Crown. It's not even close. With almost 100 CS advantage on them, solo kills left, right, and center. This matchup could not have been more one-sided, and Lucian has to be bad for the rest of the series because I just don't see what Crown is going to do against him anymore. It seems like a mental block at this point.
The flag was used for Haru. He's going to have to flash for this one, but they go for the counter game. They get Ruler in the back. There's the stun. The Cosmic Radiance does come down, but the rest of them are going to be in bad position, and a couple of them do get taken out. Nice disengage and pull off of that Baron to get a couple more kills. And they should rely on Wolf here to just push Haru out, as the Baron is going to go down. They might even get Haru here as he's playing a little bit too close. He gets extremely close. There's the culling, and Faker will get another kill on his Lucian.
Just taking names with the culling. My God, he's got everybody on the hit list. Who else is going to be next for Faker to take down? And SKT just playing some beautiful League of Legends, utilizing their champions, the pressure, the mistakes that Samsung is providing for them, and never letting go. Here we go. Another look at the fight. As soon as Zach jumps in, you know what the plan is in short. Kennen gets knocked back, but it's already a 4v5. They don't stand a chance against this. Cosmic Radiance is not going to do anything for them when you don't have your Talia, when it's only Tristana dealing DPS.
The cleanup was easy enough for them as SKT is running away with this game. 100% the story when everybody watches the replay or even just watching this one as we have been going. It's Faker versus Crown. 4-0-2 versus the 0-3-0. He's going to have to step it up, Crown, if he wants to actually have a chance against Faker, who has already taken his name in game number 1 of a best-of-5 series.
He absolutely has. The champions might be different, and we can put a lot of the emphasis as to the Samsung mistakes onto Crown, but I do still feel like they could have found more opportunities when it comes to asserting pressure to the top side of the map. They found one good gank, but never again did we see Samsung going for anything proactive. It was only one attempt, and that's just not going to cut it when you're under so much pressure from SKT. So next draft from Samsung will have to be slightly different. They'll have to target different champions from SKT if they truly want to have a fighting chance in this series, because this game 1 has been all SKT.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Faker can do as he is extremely fed at this point. The Phantom Dancer going 1v1 to Ruler. That was a 3-shot!
Oh.
Goodbye, Tristana. You're not going to be the one who takes him out. You're going to need the rest of your team to do it, but they're not even going to have time. 10,000 gold ahead, 2 inhibitors go down. They might even push for the game.
GG go next. This one's all done. Holy. Wow, the crits, yeah. Triple crit onto the Tristana. They thought they could get him with the stun.
And another engage here just to clean up the double kidnap. Because why not? To add insult to injury into one of the most one-sided league games we've seen. Picking up the Penta, I think it was. Perhaps? No, it doesn't look like it. Just the Quadra. There's the GG. SKT with a smash over Samsung in game number 1.
Oh my God, that was just a landslide of a game, and undoubtedly Faker, just so much MVP out of this one. Completely carried the hell out of this game, and Samsung has to be left dumbfounded because their preparation, if they thought this was how well prepared they had to be, they are sorely mistaken, because it seems like SKT, and Wolf specifically, the rest of the lineup, they can talk the talk, but can they walk the walk? And the answer is they can run it. They can do anything they want with it, because this match was so one-sided.
That's one of the most one-sided mid lane versus mid lane matchups we've seen in a while. I mean, that was the kind of thing you go in solo queue and you're like, well, can we get a report on this guy? Like, what's going on? Like, he must be trolling. And obviously, he is feeling the pressure. Everybody on his team is coming over and trying to get his morale up because, guys, we could have potentially 4 more games. The series is not over. And we've seen this happen before and players come back from it, but he really needs to get his mindset together because he's not looking good right now.
They need to pick him up, so it's good that the team is helping him out. But the benefit for him is that those are not mistakes that happen just out of nowhere. They weren't random little itty-bitty mistakes that can happen. It was simply just a complete off game for Crown. Those are typically the games that you have an easier time shaking off, forget about it, move on to the next one, and hey, you get to go onto the blue side this time as well as Samsung. So the draft can change, the pick order, they can put Crown on a better matchup into the mid lane. In the meantime, we'll look at where it all started. A bizarre 1v1 where Crown saved his summoners and died.
I think it was the last bullet, quite literally. And that was solo number 1. Forces the flash out and gets solo number 2. He had already picked up a kill with the help of Peanut underneath the tier 1 turret in the top lane as well before that. And here was just the follow-up. It was already 4v5 in this one. SKT as a team able to clean up quite easily at the end of this one. And they also do pick up this kill onto Haru to make sure there was no steal. Another calling kill for Faker, because why not? Can we give this guy a double MVP? Does that exist?
I actually looked at this and
Watch
so
this.
he
Watch
doesn't even
this.
hit. It's 2 autos. One,
One, two, three.
Like the Q doesn't even connect.
Yeah.
So it's literally just the W popping, and then the second after the relentless pursuit.
Someone got Faker's gap because he was coming out, and this was even more hilarious. Underneath the pool, taking out 2 members as he dies, almost from the grave. And the results, extremely one-sided. There was 1 tower and 2 kills that went over to the side of Samsung. This graph is pretty obvious. I mean, Faker got fed from the beginning, and he ran away with it.
This is scary for the rest of the world, because if this really is SKT coming back and saying, hey, this is our true form, you gotta be shaking in the knees, man. This is, as an individual, for Faker to be playing like this, it's a lot to handle. Because are you gonna drop a Lucian ban? That ban is basically like a waste of a ban. It's like today's pocket picks with Hui's, Aurelion. So do you really drop that ban? Nobody else is actually playing this as well to this level, and it doesn't affect anything.
And do you ban not only Lucian, but Cassiopeia? Lots of questions to be answered, guys. We are going to jump into our first commercial break before we go into game number 2 of Samsung versus SKT. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
A questionable choice, considering that it is Kultar's most played and most successful champion at that, at an 8-2 record.
We do see the Talia banned away, and the other obvious pick for Crown is Orianna, and another big pick for Faker as well, so they need to pick it here in that 4th slot, which does mean that they're thinking about giving away this Maokai, as SKT is going to be hovering in. Do also have the Rumble available.
No way, Jose. I don't think SKT would truly pass up on the Rumble, or will they? It does make sense into Orianna, but
they don't have the Rumble Alistar combination anymore, so deciding to go for the Maokai.
Yeah, so it is better when it comes to dealing with the Tristana and the Orianna. You can truly jump them.
No way! Okay, here we go!
Oh my god.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
He's telling Crown, I'm going to make you my dog today, because going with Fizz into Orianna, you know this matchup, he can just stop it. But there's no wave clear on the side of SKT. This is all ending onto Faker versus Crown.
Yeah.
And so Samsung responded, we got to help this guy out, give him a Shen, try to keep him alive. But the good thing for him is that they did prioritize this champion in their 2 wins against the Rocks Tigers. It was not Janair, as I mentioned earlier, it was against Rocks, where they picked Ori over Caitlyn and over Kalista, and they found some success. So this might be the champion that Crown is truly good at right now, but man, against Fizz, if he is having any semblance of how poorly he played that game 1, this is going to be an even harder stop.
This is a statement, you know, after all, as you were saying, there's no wave clear, it's kind of all in, trying to get Faker ahead on this assassin-type champion in the mid lane, and this is a surefire way to pick up 2 kills, 2 games in a row, because if you take out Crown in a devastating loss again, I can't imagine that his mentality is going to be ready for game number 3, so they're saying, okay, let's see if Faker can do it again, let's see if he can carry an even harder champion on the Fizz up against Orianna in the mid lane and make it happen again, because we could probably run away with the series if we win once again with this kind of champion.
He is up against Cuvate onto the Shen, so Samsung's composition once again going for the late game scaling, where they have the Alistar go in, you have multiple ball carriers and protection for your 2 carry lineup. The danger of that composition is that when you're facing off against Faker's Fizz, or just these champions like Gragas, Maokai, that can single out individual targets, and you know they'll be focusing Crown, you remove most of the damage threats immediately, and all of a sudden you have no way of killing the tank. So they have to play with excellent positioning if they want to have a fighting chance when it comes to these 5v5s.
And players just getting all set up and ready to go. Looks like the game is finally loading up as all the issues are solved here. Jumping into the game, you see the focused players all in the booth, ready and waiting to start up game number 2. So let's do it. The players are on the rift. Let us join them for game number 2. Here we go. Game number 2 is on the cards, and the camera zooms in to another fantastic matchup we have between Faker and Crown, the Fizz versus the Orianna. These two are going to go at it as well.
Waiting on the cowbell as eagerly as we all are. We want to hear that beautiful sound. And when it comes to the mid lane, the most beautiful thing we'll have to see is Crown utilizing his shield. So he's got 3 at his disposal this time around. 1 is obviously in QV, but he's got the barrier, he's got his command protect, and Faker does have teleport. So the important thing will be to keep track of the junglers for this mid lane, because Faker can't go for the 1v1 solo kill. He doesn't have a combat summoner, whereas Crown does. So as long as Peanut remains in sight, that they are aware of his path and how long it'll take for him to get to the mid lane, it should be all fine for Samson. The danger comes at the level 6 with Fizz hitting the chum the waters. You've got the cast from Gragas that can just take out Orianna from seemingly any angle, and that can easily burst past QV shield. So vision will be imperative for Haru to keep track of Peanut, and if they can do so, Crown can get a nice CS lead in this lane that can just harass the melee champion down, as Orianna does to pretty much every melee.
So excited to see if Faker can pull it off, even with that teleport. Would be a huge message to not only Crown and the rest of Samsung, but to the rest of the other teams in LCK waiting, saying, hey, Faker is back. He's done it 2 games in a row where he's completely popped off and essentially run the game by himself, which definitely harkens back to when he first entered LCK and was this big rookie on campus, just owning face left and right. Definitely a lot of excited fans waiting for his moments to return and to shine as he wants to. It's always been very solid, but I love the fact that he's really popping off in a big way nowadays.
Oh, this play does not inspire confidence in me when we look at Samsung. Not sure what Haru's thinking there. The wave is clearly pushing in Samsung's favor when you have Tristana. The Callista's just waiting patiently for the wave to hit, so he might have been just waiting for a counter gank. They also have to be aware of the route that Gragas starting to the red side. Already 3 times has Peanut started on that side as the Gragas, so maybe not enough scouting, looking at the waves, whatever the case might be, are wasting some time. That allows Peanut to get some advantages, and if they can just safely farm, hit that level 6, mid lane becomes a dangerous place for this Orianna.
Okay, they've spotted Haru here. Bang and Wolf, though, are not going to be able to just run into an attempt to challenge. So some of the grunts stolen away by Haru. Taking another look into the mid lane, it looks like the CS is relatively even. Faker is staying even, but here comes Haru in the back, trying to get on top of Faker. There's the flash. Is going to force that out. The Thunderlord's proc on the Faker means that he gets quite low, and will be looking to TP back into lane.
That's big though, because had that been the opposite and would it been Peanut trading his own flash for Crown, Crowns would have been in a very difficult situation when the level 6s start to hit. But now that he has his own flash, Faker does not. No longer do you have the outplay options of going for a flash playful trickster, a flash chum the waters. All of that goes out the table, and Crown can lane a little bit more safely. So Samsung doing all they can to make sure that this Orianna gets by, to help boost his morale just a little bit, to make sure that he can keep his composure for the rest of the series, because it'll take them a long time if they want to get out of the game 1 that they already find themselves at a deficit.
Peanut coming in here and saying, hey, I want some of these grubs back, but actually Haru steals most of them. I say steal, although they were his to begin with. But at least he is spotted out. No dive onto the top side or anything like that. Not too much damage between the Maokai and the Gragas anyway.
You would be a difficult judge to convince when it comes to robberies, Valdez.
Why is that?
When calling it steal, when it was him, it was his all along.
That's true. Well, Peanut trying to make the entire map his. Faker being an annoying little fish. Just pulling those minions in, making it so the wave is pushing into him as Crown is low on mana and needs to stick around for this wave. Wouldn't be nice for him to just freeze it there, Faker. You can see that Peanut was waiting nearby and they were thinking about a play, but Faker was not quite level 6 because of the way the wave was working.
The wave's too large, there's no need to stick around. You know that Crown is looking for a recall at that time. You can tell by the way that he's positioning in the lane, being careful with his summoners, utilizing the max. They're going to go Haru instead. Here we go. 6 though.
Yeah, Chen coming out, but a lot of damage. Will they blast for this one? It doesn't look like it, as Haru will go extremely low, down to about 230 health, but will survive at the end of it.
You know, there was an opportunity there for both Peanut and Untara to flash and kill Haru. They definitely had enough damage, enough CC, and Haru's flash was down. But I have to imagine that they choose not to, because the game plan for SKT appears to just be focus on killing Crown. Kill the mid laners, utilize those flashes when you can get a higher value kill than just shutting down the Jarvan. Jarvan didn't find anything in the early game anyway, so he's practically redundant at this stage, and you just want to keep Crown down. You can affect the morale of this player. You might have a better chance in the upcoming games, especially we might get to see a side swap, and maybe even Orianna be banned out too.
Yeah, definitely does seem to be the focus, and you can see that Samsung has read into this quite well. The right side of the mid lane is totally warded up with 3 wards, one of them being a control ward in the brush. They do have a ward on the left side of the lane as well. So they're trying to protect their buddy Crown. Haru sticking around for now, as the Stand United is on cooldown for the time being. But that Top of the Waters is nearing the end of its cooldown, so we'll see if Faker wants to make a play sometime soon.
Watch Untara on the map. He's looking for it, and they know that.
That ward just went down here, and a ping went down. They should know that this is a possibility, and Crown looks like he was able to read it. Gets out of there with his life.
It's important for Crown to play solely to the bottom side of the map so that he doesn't suffer from a roam from Untara. So vision is nice, but you also have to play around it.
The tension is high as already 8 minutes, 20 seconds into the game. Not a single kill, and the gold is dead even. Another control ward on the right side here for Samsung, as it looks like Haru is making his way towards mid, still looking to protect. We're getting a long look down here at the bot lane, as level 6 has been hit by everyone down here for some potential action. Here comes Peanut, could turn into a 2v2 if Haru wants to commit to a play. Looks like maybe SKT wants to commit as they engage onto Crown. Here we go, Stand United is not ready, but they see Haru, and they immediately disengage. They say, nope, we're not going to take this 2v2.
They opt out against it, and once again, these teams are playing on the razor's edge. There was another opportunity for Samsung to actually turn that off to Faker. The second he commits both Playful Trickster and his Urchin Strike, you can go onto the Fizz, who for about 5 seconds, 10 at most, did not have his flash, and Haru had his flash and Cataclysm, as well as Crown having his own Shockwave. So they could have opted to go onto this matchup, but they're just playing it safe. They don't want to risk these moments where you don't get much out of the kills. They need to get a little bit more out of it, but so far we have already seen the way that Faker is playing, the way that he's showing his hand, the way that you expect FaZe to be playing, which is you only go for the 1v1, or the chum the waters rather, when there's somebody nearby. You're not just going for a random all-in kill. You need to have somebody there to assist you, to minimize the chance of it going wrong, and to make sure that you secure a kill whenever possible. And speaking of securing, Ocean Dragon for Samsung, and the tables have turned when it comes to these objectives. Fire for SKT in Game 1, Water for Samsung Game 2.
Yeah, you could say, hey, we would love to have the Infernal Drake, but at least that Ocean Drake at this point in the game with no kills and no big pressure in any of the lanes and an extended laning phase it's not going to be too bad for Samsung at this point in time. But definitely offer a little bit more sustainability for Crown in the mid lane. Can't just lose trades over and over to a FaZe and be forced out or anything like that. Okay, we have an engage down here. That Cosmic Radiance almost doesn't get off, but at the last second, with that Ignite ticking, Bang is saved.
Close call for Bang, and this is the worry that I had about them in Game 1, where in their matchup against Afrika, they didn't get pressured at all in the bottom lane. They were up against Twitch with Targons and a Janna, so a lane built to lose. And then Game 2, when they were facing off against the Caitlyn Thresh, they actually did end up arguably losing that lane. They found themselves dying a couple of times on some kills. And in the meantime, nothing's going to happen to the mid lane. But that pressure to the bottom lane is what I was worried about for Bang. Were they going to be up to par when it comes to dealing with a lane that can offer a bit more pressure than lanes that are built to lose? Well, they've been pushed in Game 1. They did lose most of the turret HP on their own. So you could say that they are struggling a bit when it comes to the bottom side of the map. But we didn't get to see much team play besides vision control from SKT in Game 1 because of how much happened in the mid lane.
And you can see that Peanut's hanging around, Nuntara's continuously rotating around. There are now 2 control wards for SKT on the left side of the mid lane, trying to make this Maokai roam happen with all the CC he has in his kit. But so far, still no first blood. 12 minutes into this one. Crown coming in here. You see Haru's nearby. Chum the Waters is going to land. Will he go onto it? The flash is burned already out of Crown. And with that barrier up, getting the summoner, SKT once again decide not to go for it.
And even though with the barrier and the stand united, you could say that Crown would have lived and wouldn't have to use his flash. The fact that they saw Wolf coming in from the river means that that would be one more layer of crowd control being added onto the Orianna. So it would have essentially been a 3-on-1. So there's no need to risk that play. Burns his summoner wisely, and at least it's a change from Game 1 where he was so hesitant in utilizing them. So he keeps his hide scot-free and lives to see another day, maintaining even CS against Fizz.
Samsung going for a group invade towards that red buff is spotted out, but SKT, again, they just let them do it. Samsung decides to disengage, even with the stand united and everything available, deciding they don't want to take the fights deep into their enemy's right side jungle just yet.
Ooh, curious to see that Haru has actually gone with a Warriors enchantment on the Jarvan. Typically you see the Cinderhulk coming through, but with Warriors, I'm still floundered at what the hell is going on, because Jarvan's not making any early plays, not like he has many places to do so. So you would have expected a Cinderhulk to come out from him. It synergizes well with his kit. He wants to go in, he gets to be a ball carrier, but being a damage dealer here, not really necessary. You've got Tristan and Orianna. The composition is a 2-man threat. It's not a bad comp, you just have to execute it differently than most, and the Tristana push will once again result in bottom lane suffering most of the HP early, and at least now Samsung can convert into a first brick.
Yeah, with that first brick, they do pick up a nice gold lead for their team, about 600 ahead at this point. Also picking up the first dragon, going up against this Fizz that hasn't been fed at all. They should be pretty happy with how the game is going so far. See, Tristana picks up that Infinity Edge, so she's going to begin critting like a truck.
So if you go back to last year's playoff run and Gauntlet as well, and you look at Samsung specifically, at the time their starter support was Ray. And they weren't finding much success from it for most of the display. It was lackluster from Samsung overall, but when CoreJJ came in, the entire morale shifted of the team, and they found their stride and continued to improve and improve throughout the World's Tournament to make it to the finals. And that glimmer of hope that comes from the bottom lane seems to be reappearing once again in Samsung, where they can find some gold, some pressure into the bottom side of the map. And it's at the hands of Ruler and CoreJJ, a lane that has been thriving for a bit of a year now. And they might be able to transition when it comes to the team fights. We have yet to see them go for it. Ruler obviously thinks that Tristana is a great champion, but we need to see him team fight with it and not get two-shot by Lucian.
Well, he's been fantastic on other AD carries, especially the Varus. AD carry that doesn't have an escape, so I'm really excited to see what he can do with the range that's even greater than the Varus, but also the escape that Tristana does offer on this champion. An insane push coming out of Samsung here. They're going to pick up another turret. Some of the Waters even used to try to clean up that wave, but it was unsuccessful at the end of it all. So SKT losing another one, Samsung, 2 turrets ahead.
That's exactly what I was saying was going to be the danger for SKT. They don't have wave clear. Their only wave clear is going for an engage. They need fights. They need to get ahead early onto the Fizz. And the fact that Samsung was able to deter the multiple attempts onto Crown means that with Ruler and CoreJJ getting their advantages into the bottom side of the map, they can rotate to mid, get that turret down, and now 2 dragons on their advantage. And it looks like a reverse of game 1 with a controlled approach from Samsung, recognizing what needs to happen on the map for their composition to succeed. They're executing it well, and the dragons are helping them too, because just as game 1, the third one is now a mountain. But this time with double oceans, it means that they can fight against SKT, survive the engage, and then go back onto the map and look for the major objectives right after, which now happens to be the top lane, turret, and eventually the Baron.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have some fantastic sieging potential, especially against the lack of wave clear that SKT does have. They can stick around for a very long time. They can draw out these fights for a sick period of time. No doubt they will be looking to use that. Really looking perhaps for a rapid fire cannon next. So wants to accelerate the range at which this Tristana can begin to attack. The Rift Herald is going to be used down here in the bottom side, as Shen was not positioned. Faker was down here, getting it low enough. That should be 1 turret at least going over to SKT.
So if SKT wants to have pressure onto this matchup, it's going to have to come at the hands of helping out Faker. FaZe has the most kill pressure right now. If you go help out Kalista, you will be met by a Stand United, and he's already built a Titanic Hydra, which, while he can do damage, it's not the tankiest when it comes to surviving these skirmishes. So instead, he will just have to back off, respect the damage from SKT, and a great use of Rift Herald turns into 2 towers for SKT, and then the gold lead remains even. So we got a great game on our hands when it comes to looking at pressure, understanding what objectives to trade, and looking at the win conditions for each other and respecting them as such.
Yeah, SKT extremely happy to take that tier 2 turret, especially before the Baron is even off the map. Yeah, sure, give away that top tier 1 to Samsung. You already got a nice lane to push in down in the bottom side. So, gonna be nice there. The gold lead you were talking about, it's extremely even at this point after that trade. Just about 100 gold ahead for Samsung. Pretty negligible at this point in time. Still waiting for this Fizz to pop off. We saw the illusion be incredibly impressive in game number 1 with the lead Faker could get, but so far the defensive play of Samsung did not net any big farming potential for Faker against any of these champions.
It did not, but look at what ends up happening. And SKT might choose not to go for this lane assignment, but I think it would be a mistake. if they assign Faker to the top side of the map, the next objective is Baron. So you have a higher chance of getting a kill or getting a pick off if you have the Fizz in an area that is going to be highly contested. So by Faker being topside and the Maokai to the bottom lane in a lane that no longer needs to care about pushing for a tower, not only do you open yourself up to more effective teleport plays because you don't care about what happens to the bottom side of the map, but you have a higher chance of finding a kill, as we see right now, just Alistar roaming in, but the Tristana that is just about to face check of Rush. There was a Fizz right there. That could have been a dead Tristana.
Ruler playing with fire already, even though she's only level 11 at this point. We see Tristana's loving to play with fire a little bit later on in the game as that champion. And so they have sent Maokai down to the bottom side. Kive is going to go ahead and mirror him, so we will have this 4v4 situation with the help of Stand United for Kive to get into these fights very quickly. Samsung with a lot of control around the Baron. They have triple control wards right now. One in the Baron pit, one around mid, and one towards the top side of blue buff here. And just looking to slowly push this one in, see if they can get SKT to make a mistake, get a pick off. The blue's actually taken away here by Haru. Nicely done.
Samsung has the advantage in these moments when there is no ward to be TP'd behind. They can easily play the fights out in a straight line. And then you have Stand United to help them out as well. The problem comes at pressuring the Baron. Sure, you control the Baron side right now, but you don't actually have a Baron threat, so SKT doesn't feel completely compelled to go in there, face check, and try to stop Samsung from starting any Baron opportunities, and instead they'll find themselves a fight mid.
Whoa, they're going super deep for Ruler, but Bang oversteps his boundaries. First blood at 21 minutes into the game. As Bang, he just took one step too far, and that meant his life.
I think that's exactly what I was suspecting was going to come out of Bang. Game 1 against Afrika was basically Afrika handing them a freebie of a lane. Game 2, he got punished big time, and now once again, overeager on the Kalista gets popped right away. Not sure why the hell he was doing that. Ends up giving up first blood to the worst champion possible because Tristana is going to be significantly more difficult to kill than Crown, who's not only having a rough series so far, but is much easier to kill in the immobile Orianna.
Definitely a very unfortunate series of events there for SKT. They're going to be playing from behind with this unfed Fizz, who is still struggling to find a pick on this map. We'll see if they can get any objectives after Samsung did push on in the mid lane for quite a long time. Doesn't look like it, even though that Mountain Drake is coming up. Crown's going to stay on the map and push up in the top side.
Oh, but this is big. The fact that SKT can walk away with the Mountain Dragon means that Samsung's plans are stalled out even further. Now, the control that they had on Baron matters a whole lot less because they can't take it. It's going to be SKT that can actually take down the Baron much faster with the Bladed Kalista, with the tanks and the Fizz. So this Dragon has huge implications on the game length of this game, as now Samsung, sure, they might be in control, they have the gold lead, they have pressure, they've got wave clear, a strong composition on the 5v5, but they don't have the tools to take down the Baron quickly. They still rely on SKT being massively out of position, and that's just not going to do them any good. And we're going to look again at what happened here. They popped the blade, but they don't have any vision, and the fact that they both commit onto this, and Peanut is lucky that he doesn't get hit by the headbutt pulverized from Core JJ as well. Otherwise, it could have been more people dying on the side of SKT.
Ruler, the juiciest bait right now for SKT. They're looking to make a dive play onto this Tristana, ever slippery in this one. They do push in as a team of 5 and do successfully get down some nice vision around this area. But Samsung quickly going to retake back control and try to clear out any of these wards that were just pushed down. There was that very important one that was put in that brush on the red side that could be a nice TP ward for Wintara if any big fight does come out in the meantime. They're looking to come from behind. Here comes Peanuts, but he's going to take a bunch of damage. Already down to half health. He's alone. There's the shockwave, and he gets caught out going 1v3 And there's the jungler going down.
Oh, I'm so happy to see that the analysis has come through, that SKT, their mistakes that were made in Africa, a team that was unable to punish, is happening again at the hands of Samsung. They see the opportunities of Peanut being by himself, and they pull the trigger once more. But hey, they don't have tools to do the Baron. It's still too early. The items aren't quite there, so they're okay with just controlling the area and starting to build more and more gold on their side. So they just wait to see if anybody else decides to go ahead and base check the river, as it's starting to look like the Ganges now with how many deaths are happening.
Ooh. Faker hopping away from that one. At least on this Fizz, it will be extremely hard to lock him down, even with all of that hard engage that Samsung does have. So they have a decently reliable way to push in with one of their champions and get some vision down to see if this Baron is just being baited or actually started.
The worries will come through when Samsung have one more item under their belt. So Tristan already has it, but they still need Orion to pack one more before Baron truly becomes a real threat that SKT have to be worried about, to the point that it will call for them to face check the brushes. And they only have one scrying orb. Faker's going with the regular trinket so that he can teleport for himself. He's got some more vision on his split push, which means that the second that trinket goes down, if they don't have proper vision control or a set to contest, Samsung can take full advantage of that and execute whoever from SKT decides to be brave enough to face check.
Look at the ping. Here we go. The TP from behind. This is their moment to make a play happen. Here come Faker and Untara from the left side. Will they get Ruler? No. That's going to go wide. And there's the Stand United. They cannot get onto Ruler. Now Untara's all alone. Where's the support? He's all alone. He went too far. And down goes Untara. A failed teleport gank with both of the teleports from SKT.
The audible from Samsung was great there. I don't think they're going to be able to get Faker quite right, but their call to pull towards the left side of the map was excellent. They recognized that the double TP came through, just run together, stick as a unit, force SKT to take a fight that was just too forced, and because Untara flashes in, you forget that Ruler can always rocket jump out of these sticky situations. Pulls Maokai deep into the team, and now they're going to go for the Baron start. There is Alistar to worry about. There is no Ren this time around, but if they can just keep Peanut out, this should be Samsung.
That's the play. They're relying on Corti Day to keep him out, and the Baron is already incredibly low. That's going to be enough CC to keep Peanut out, and there's the Baron going over to Samsung. Now, the Baron on their side, 5,000 gold ahead, and a fed Tristana. We're looking at a pretty good game here for Samsung.
And it's only going to get better from them now that the composition can simply group as 5. They should be able to push straight down the mid lane and take an inhibitor. There is no wave queue. The teleports were committed as 2. No longer do they have a flank option, so we're going to look at this one once more. It's 4 on 4 right now, and the second the fish misses, Untara decides to flash in, and that is his end because Jarvan can just follow through. And without your main tank being there, there's nobody else to go for this one. They didn't suffer any damage. The honeydew or the honey fruit was enough to keep everybody healthy enough, and this is the danger of the composition. You don't snowball early, this is what's going to happen time and time again.
Here we go, we got another engage. This time a little bit better as there's not as much defense for Ruler. Trying to get near enough for that cast. Will he go for it? There's the flash. Just trying to bait it out there. At least they do get that summoner at this point.
Okay, Samsung need to reassess what they're doing. They're splitting themselves up to the bottom side, and hell, they're prioritizing vision around the dragon. This Baron should be turrets. This Baron should be base turret. They should not be the ones losing a tower. So misuse of the Baron, and we might be seeing like a negative Baron power play here as a second tier turret is being assaulted from SKT. It's going to be a base race, but Tristana has turrets. You're going to base race Tristana. I don't know about this one.
They're going home. Samsung, they decide, take the 2 turrets and go back home and try to defend, but here we go. They're going for the inhibitor, SKT. Will they get it? It's going to be close. A couple more hits will do it, and there it is. Not enough carry, not enough damage around here. Meanwhile, Crown and Ruler stayed home. The rest of Samsung will try to stop these backs. Here comes Crown and Ruler. They're going to get the inhibitor. Will they continue to push? Yes, they will. They're going for that turret. And there's Faker. It looks like he will get the recall. That's extremely important. But he's the only one right now. Can he go 1v2? Is the real question. Still the Banshee's available on Crown. Crown, but here's the collapse from SKT. Down goes the Fizz. The Crown should be following up. There's the Cosmic Radiance. Ruler's still alive somehow, some way. He is taken out in the end. SKT, they do get back here. Bang is still very, very much protected. It doesn't look like they want to go full on with the 4v4 just yet. They hold on to their base just barely. That was a close one.
Looks like they might be fancying going further. I sure hope not. Nope, they are getting out, and they just got straight up outplayed because SKT should not have gotten anything from not having Baron, but they somehow get an inhibitor, and at the cost of a Nexus turret, that doesn't mean anything at this stage in the game. 1-1 fight is enough to end the game for any one of these teams, so it doesn't matter that they lost that tower. They can trade inhibitors, and no longer does the Baron matter for Samsung. And hell, they even get a Mountain Dragon out of all of this, so Samsung's decision to control the river without Dragon even being alive, hell, even prioritizing Dragon, was a fatal mistake. Their positioning and split call of going to the bottom side and defending mid lane was so off that it ended up costing them dearly, and SKT still have a fighting chance in this game. It now means that the teleports will be their biggest asset. They need to go for a double teleport once again, execute onto the carries, and Ruler doesn't have flash anymore, so he might become the new priority.
If they can get onto Ruler and keep Bang safe, because as it seems right now, everything that Samsung has is just used to keep Ruler safe. And that means that Bang is essentially given free reign at this point in time. He picked up a Bloodthirster on top of that Blade of the Rune King, so he's going to have some pretty sick lifesteal. And we could see this Kalista also get out of control if the game does get late enough and she has enough space. Will it be time for Bang to redeem himself on this champion is what I'm wondering right now.
He's got a lifesteal, but there's a lot of armor already on Samsung, so he needs that armor penetration item, which puts him at a disadvantage when dealing with Crown. So Bang's positioning will have to be excellent. It has been suspect for multiple games so far, but if he can pick it up here, the purchase can be worthwhile, as it does offer that tiny little shield to help him out. And you can already see what SKT's thinking with Faker waiting in the base, trying to get a TP in.
Yeah, trying to pull that off. Attempting to collapse onto the Shen. Never really going to work out unless Kive makes a big positioning mistake. Attempting to wave clear with this composition is kind of hilarious right now for SKT. They essentially have Bang and Peanut. A little bit of Maokai, I suppose, as Faker kind of just awkwardly sits in the back. He'll be set to clear up the bottom wave by himself. At least he can do that if there's no pressure. But that means that Samsung looking for a rotation up into the top side with Faker very far away. There's the poke coming down and that turret getting extremely low. SKT with no attempt here to go for an engage, so Samsung slowly picking away at the space.
Here's the danger with Samsung rotating top. They are unaware of the wards that SKT have placed. There's one at the wall camp, another one in the lane. So if Samsung were to commit fully on the top side of the map, they would likely find themselves with somebody in their backside. They finally cleared out the vision, but still, this is the war that remains. If Samsung go for this rotation again, it will be the cue for SKT to go for an engage. You see Faker looking for a flank, but he does get pinged out.
Yeah, they see him. But again, just a little move like that means that Samsung backs off for just one more wave. So SKT is definitely buying some time for themselves. And here's that rotation once again you were talking about.
This is the cue for SKT. This is where they're going to go for it.
Are they going to make an attempt to stop the push at this wave? Looks like they'll wait for now. Samsung with a lot of respect for that play you were talking about. They decide not to push on in. But that means that Samsung as a team is looking to back off as the Baron is 30 seconds away from spawning. They want to make sure they get all their items ready to go. Righteous Glory picked up onto Alistar and a Gargoyle Stone Plate for Shen. Definitely going to be a couple of big items for them in the upcoming Baron teamfight.
They have to retreat. The Baron is way too high with the death timers being equal. So if somebody were to get picked up, that team would likely lose the Baron, lose pressure as now inhibitors have already been exposed for both teams. So it's important that they retreat, that they play it safe, and they find themselves in that position where there's a less likely chance that they get TP'd onto. So they do lose the Scuttle Crab, which isn't the greatest thing for Samsung to fight against, but at least there is no ward behind them for them to be TP'd on. So the fight become a little bit easier for Samsung now that they're going to have control over the Baron side, but they still have to be well aware of where to sweep and what to expect from SKT.
This game is surprisingly very close at this point in time. I feel like one mistake out of Samsung and SKT could make it work. One mistake out of SKT and Samsung could close the game out. So it really is going to come down to this next big team fight around the Baron. If Samsung pick up the Baron buff, you have to think that with the empty lane down the bottom side with just the open inhibitor as well as a very weak top lane turret, they definitely could make a case to end the game or at least get a couple of inhibitors after this one.
Absolutely. A Baron and some kills is going to be the game, but Samsung needs to keep SKT pushed in. That will prevent them from getting deep vision. No deep vision means no TPs. They have to fight in a straight line, which is exactly what they want, so that the formation has your 3 tanks in the front and your 2 carries in the back line, dealing damage and protecting each other.
Faker actually got the Banshee's Veil off of Crown, and you can see they were looking for a play. Ruler has the escape, Crown does not. He will have his flash, but if they could lock him down some hard CC, that was pretty close, but not close enough. They're going to be able to wait there, but look at the poke out of Ruler. He takes out that turret, easy peasy, and now they're going for this inhibitor. The attack speed is coming in, down to about half health. Looking to try to get this one down, and it looks like SKT will give it up.
That fish was basically like a game loss for SKT. That was a big mistake from Faker. They have a control ward in the back. They could have used that to TP, but the second that Chump the Water goes off, Samsung's no longer scared. They know that Face's dive is significantly weaker. The CC's not going to be there. Tristana can play up, and that mistake from Faker might have just cost them a chance to go for a fight, and might have cost them the entire game.
You can see how much they want to defend this. That stun rather was so close to hitting Ruler from the Taric. Wolf almost making a game-changing play. But again, another missed CC means that this time Samsung will get their second inhibitor that they so dearly wanted. And now they'll make a play towards that Baron.
They get lucky that SKT has some big mishaps. But now the Elder Dragon is up, and so is Baron. This is an opportunity for these teams to prioritize objectives. Baron is obviously the most important one here, so I expect both of them to fight.
Oh, it hit Crown! It got his Crown! There's that Stack United into the cast, but will he go down? The shield to the heels, and the big shockwave right before that Cosmic Radiance, but here's Faker trying to get out Crown! He gets him! He gets Crown! Now Haru is getting extremely low. Bang is still available, but so is Ruler. It's the battle of the 80 carries right now. Cortez, he's getting low. There's the ram. Ruler, he can't do enough damage. SKT, they're too tanky. Now Cube is going to be left all alone. SKT, they're turning this one around. They're going to get another kill. Cube's not even going to stick around in this one. He's going to try to make it out with his life. SKT, can they pick up another kill? It doesn't look like it. They just get 2 as Cube sticks alive, and now they're moving towards the Baron.
Oh, at the last possible second, Faker finds Crown, and that is huge. That's exactly the weakness of these 2 carry compositions. One man goes down, and they don't have a chance. There's Ren to secure this, but they're turning off.
That stun misses, but Ruler forced to flash away. He pulls him off the Baron, but Ruler doesn't have an escape. Will it matter, though? Here comes Bang on in, and he will do the damage. The rest of his team helping him out dearly. They pick up another 2 kills, and that should be the Baron for SKT.
And that Baron is huge. What is Samsung thinking going into that moment? Not respecting that SKT could always turn around and go onto Ruler, and now the Baron will be theirs. Are they going to go donate themselves once again?
Crowd looking for the miracle shockwave. Can he get it? There's the cast. There's the rend. It comes out at nearly the same time as the shockwave. But Bang with enough rend stacks will pick up that Baron. And that is huge. SKT coming back in this one after losing 2 inhibitors. They don't even get the top tier 1 pros.
It was so close to being closed out from SKT. Let's take another look at the fish. So, oh, they separate themselves. They leave Crown behind. Number 1 rule, if you're tanks and running these compositions, tanks must escort the carries out of position. And he single-handedly just takes out Crown. Nobody else was doing much against him. And the second that he's out, you can't go onto bank. The bodies are way too big for our lone Tristana to deal with them. And just look at how much damage she does to Maokai. If you think there's no damage happening, you're right, because he just healed himself through another auto, so he stays alive. And it just shows how important this is. And the biggest thing about it is that now both flashes of the carries are down. Everybody has used their flash except Cubase, but we have yet to see some crazy antics with the taunt flash so far. Now that Elder is being contested, Crown and the rest of SK or Samsung can still take a fight 5-on-5, but without summoners, the peel game has to be there.
These fights are getting out of control, man. This is going down to the wire already in game number 2. We talked about the mentality of Crown. I sure hope he's not kicking himself for being picked out there. I think that was just a beautiful play by Faker, but also a mistake by the team of Samsung to not stick together as 5. And so with this Baron, SKT looking to make a play around the Elder Drake, looking to get some vision, but they're splitting up themselves. Gotta stick together as a team. Faker with this TP up is going to be pushing the top lane and looking for a TP behind.
That's not a full ward behind him, that's just a scrying orb, so Samsung can take this and have a positional advantage, and with Maokai showing into the bottom side, it appears that SKT will simply be using the Baron to stall off this game.
They have a chance here with Peanut if he wants to go for this spike steal, but here's Cortete to headbutt him out. Will it get it down? Nice play here by Cortete. They're going to get that Elder Drake. Lots of red stacks onto the Alistar, and the TP even coming in, but I mean, it's an Alistar with his ult up. You're not going to be killing this guy.
Every decision matters from this point on. Again, a one fight, now that the objectives are down, means that the only thing you can take is the base. SKT's not going to fight Samsung, though. They do have the Elder, so for 2 more minutes, we're not going to see much action onto the map, so we'll have to wait for both Dragon and Baron to wear off before we see anybody truly leaving their comfort zone and start fishing for more.
Fishing indeed, as we've already seen one big, beautiful fish out of Faker. Can he make another one happen? Had a couple of mishaps on the Fizz ability, but definitely a key engage point for SKT as a team, as a whole.
And remember the way that Chum the Waters works. It'll stick to the first champion there, so if you play the formation right, and you've got Alistar, Jarvan, and Shen if you decide to bring him along with you, it should never actually land one of the carries as long as there's somebody body blocking. Almost like playing point guard in basketball against the Fizz. Nobody should be able to hit these carries. There should always be somebody between the carries and the damage dealers from SKT.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it looks like that's the play for them here. Although Ruler is a little bit off to the side, Crown is okay to sit behind his linebackers. Baker, though, on the right side, you can see he's looking for the angle. He is spotted out here as the slow push continues onto this inhibitor. The ball always mirroring where Baker does go. Down goes the first inhibitor. As a nice push does come out. The other Drake buff is still available here for Samsung. And SKT did lose their Baron buff, so don't want to take any fights just yet. They're happy to